Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew Studio. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the code 83weeks at bluechew.com. Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. Eric, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing great here in Los Angeles. Got to spend a little time with my daughter, had dinner with her the night before last, and got together a little bit last night, so that's always fun. And just cranking away, taking care of business here at Real American Freestyle.
You know, we are going to talk about Real American Freestyle, but you brought up Montana. We hear about Garrett all the time, and of course, us longtime wrestling fans, we're familiar with him a little bit from his days in front of the camera on TNA. What is Montana up to these days? How's she doing?
Montana's doing great. You know, she more or less followed in my footsteps after graduating college. She got a degree in film and television. She came to work for Jason Hervey and I at Bischoff Hervey Entertainment. Started out as basically as a production assistant and kind of worked her way up through development. Learned about as much as she could possibly learn working for Jason and I encouraged her to work for other production companies so she could get different kinds of experience, and she did. She ended up becoming vice president of a company called V10. It's a production studio here in Los Angeles. Did that for a long time and just decided she wanted to get out of television for a lot of reasons. And I've talked about many of them here. It's just not the same business as it used to be 10, 15, 20 years ago. Anyway, she bought a franchise. It's called the English Swim School. And she has this franchise here in Los Angeles and teaches swimming to young kids.
Well, how about that, man? I love getting a little family update. That's exciting. I'm glad to hear.
It's a really interesting franchise, too. You know, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, what? You're going to do what? But I looked into the model itself, the franchise model itself, and it's a really, really interesting business, and it's done quite well.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's going well, and we know it's going well with Real American Freestyle. It's going to be going down next weekend in Tampa. Real American Freestyle on the way. It is a live event, and it is going to be a packed house. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets on sale now at realamericanfreestyle.com, or you can do what I've been doing and watch on the Fox Nation app. Eric, this is 1 week out from another big event. Are you nervous, anxious, excited? This probably feels like a home game in Tampa a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way. I mean, there's a lot of emotions around this event. First of all, it's, you know, the rematch between Arman and Giorgio. As you know, most people are well aware, it got a lot of publicity. There was a bit of a brawl at the end of their first match, and Chad went ahead and booked the rematch. So it's going to be interesting. So I'm excited. I'm a little nervous because it's a volatile situation. Want it to come off great, obviously, but you know, it's exciting. But the overall energy around Real American Freestyle right now is just it's amazing. I mean, I'm here in Los Angeles because Fox sent a crew out to interview Giorgio and Arman yesterday because they're going to do a special on Fox Nation promoting the rematch. I think it's on Friday. So there's just a lot going on around Real American Freestyle, and it's all very, very exciting.
There is a lot going on. Be sure to check them out live next week. Tickets on sale now if you're in the Tampa area, realamericanfreestyle.com. It's next Saturday, but of course, you don't miss a minute over on Fox Nation. Next week is also a big anniversary, Eric, and I'm going to put you on the spot. We are live to tape right now. Do you have your calendar in front of you?
I do not.
Can
but
you
I can pull it up on my computer. What's up?
Yeah, pull it up on your computer and just see what you're doing next Thursday. See what your availability is next Thursday.
Next Thursday. That's the 26th.
It is.
I'll be in Tampa.
Yes, sir.
I'll probably be a little bit underwater because there's a lot going on. But other than that, I don't really see anything. I don't have any hard appointments on Thursday.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. in my head, Friday is probably the day before show day. It's probably your crazier day on the Real American Freestyle Week. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So in my head, next week, we should be live on Thursday, March 26th, on the exact 25-year anniversary of the very last Nitro. Isn't that crazy to think that next Thursday, the 26th, is the exact 25-year anniversary of the last Nitro?
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
On some level, it feels like it was like 10, maybe 15 years ago, but it doesn't feel like it should be 25, Eric.
I mean, that's the head trip, right? Time just messes with your head in so many ways. When you think about, it does seem like it was just yesterday or a couple of years ago, right? But so much has happened between then and now. It is trippy to start thinking about a 25 quarter of a century. Different ways you can say it to make it even more dramatic.
The impact that WCW had on professional wrestling is beyond measure, and it all finished next Thursday, the 25th anniversary. Make plans to join us here at 83weeks.com. We're going to try to be live here and celebrating some of the good, the bad, and the ugly of WCW as we talk about that very last Nitro, maybe what could have been, if Eric was successful in getting his hands on the thing, what that new iteration of WCW may have looked like. It's just weird to think it's been 25 years, and I don't think we can let that anniversary just blow by without talking about it. So we're going to celebrate it. Tell a friend if you've got a friend who absolutely loved WCW back in the day. Make plans to join us next Thursday, March 26th, on the exact 25-year anniversary of the last Nitro. And if you had it to do over again, there's so much we could talk about with WCW. I'm excited to talk about that next week, but we do need to talk about some news. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, but I guess once upon a time, WWE was planning to do Night of Champions in June in Riyadh. Of course, this was going to be a Saudi show, and there's a little bit of a situation going on in the Middle East right now. Of course, America is at war with Iran, and now there's lots of folks who are curious, can they even still plan for that show? I mean, as it sits right now, it feels like they're going to have to reschedule that show or just cancel it altogether. Do you imagine there's a way that show still happens in June, Eric?
In Saudi? No.
Yeah, can't.
No, it's just too. No, I don't see it happening. But hopefully, the situation in Iran cools down, and things get a little bit more back to normal long before June. But even still, as a matter of fact, talking about Real American Freestyle, we were supposed to be in Bahrain. We were going to bring a Real American Freestyle from Bahrain in May. And Chad and Izzy, my partners, went over there, and we just begun, negotiating details and all that. But clearly, we've had to postpone that trip, and hopefully, we'll be getting back over there. But I think travel in general is, even if you could find people willing to go over there and do this right now, it's pretty difficult. So I don't see it happening in June. I really don't.
Did you ever, before this Real American Freestyle incident now, when you look back in your rearview mirror for years and events past, did you ever have a situation like this where there was some sort of a conflict that or a government issue that warranted a date being moved or canceled altogether? I can't imagine that would have been anything you've dealt with in the past, right?
No, I never. Fortunately, I never had to deal with those kinds of issues.
Do you recall if there was ever any sort of local, state or municipal issue where a local government got involved on any level because of something that was happening regionally, or was that just never something you ever had to deal with at any given point?
I never. Fortunately, I never had to deal with situations like that.
Let's talk a little bit about the situation that WWE is dealing with when it comes to WrestleMania. We've mentioned that there's been a lot of discourse about WrestleMania tickets and are the ticket sales down, and we knew there was going to be a challenge going back to the same place. But this year they're dusting off a new idea, and there's a little bit of capitalist in both Eric and I, so I thought we would talk about it. As the statement goes, WWE, in partnership with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, announced that fans can purchase seats positioned atop the iconic WrestleMania 42 set for the first time ever, when the premium live event takes place on Saturday, April 18th and Sunday, April 19th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Limited tickets for the premium seats, which offer fans a one-of-a-kind elevated viewing experience inside the stadium, will go on sale Friday, March 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern at Ticketmaster.com. So as folks are listening to this, today at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, you can buy a ticket to sit on the stage to WrestleMania. Obviously, these are going to be really, really premium tickets. This is, I know once upon a time, the NFL moved to, hey, we need to have suites. And then they moved to field suites. I appreciate that the venues are often trying to find a way with the more mainstream sports franchises. How do we charge more? How do we get more out of a personal seat license fee and that sort of thing? But now you can actually buy a seat on the WrestleMania set.
That's crazy. I love it. What a great idea.
It is a good idea.
Can you imagine? You just sit there and watch that whole show from the set. I just can't. That would really be cool. I like it.
I like it too. I'm also looking forward to seeing what you think about the WrestleMania build. Of course, there was a lot of chatter that, hey, fans are sort of checked out on creative, but I don't know if you saw the rating came in really, really strong for SmackDown last week. We'll be talking about that in a bit with Raj Giri, but a lot of it hinged on the angle and execution between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Did you have a chance to see that? What'd you think?
I did. I saw clips of it and can't tell you how happy I am. I mean, I think Randy Orton, to me, I think is one of the best examples of, he's still old school in many respects, but he's such a great performer on every level. His promos are great. The way he sells is fantastic. He's so fluid. He's so smooth. And I think that the match between him and Cody is going to be a great match. Really looking forward to it.
I think a lot of us are. It's a story that feels like it's been a long time coming, and they can go back as far as they want with storytelling. And the latest cliffhanger, I don't know that you saw, but Randy Orton is making a phone call, and we're not sure who's on the other end of that phone call. And I love that WWE, on the heels of the Masked Man and What's in the Box, they've immediately said, hey, fans are digging this. Let's give them some more intrigue. And when I saw that, all I could think was, boy, if this isn't Nitro 101, if this isn't Sarsa 101,
Yep.
Did Sting turn? Who is the third man? Who was driving the white limo or the white Hummer? Whatever it was, there was always the intrigue. And I think that fans are engaged in this. But what I guess my bigger question is, why did it take WWE so long to lean into this? Because this has been ready for them for a long time, but it feels like this year, it's what's captivating fans more than anything else.
I mean, who knows why they chose now to launch this story, but either way, I don't care why they waited so long. I'm just glad it's happening. It is a great story, and I think when I think about Randy Orton and Cody, they're almost like Randy Orton is the last of what I consider my generation of performers. Randy started in WWE just as I came on board there back in whatever year that was, 2001, I think, or two. Randy was, brand new in WWE at that point in time. So I've had a chance to watch him develop and grow as a performer. I have a lot of respect for his dad, Cowboy Bob Orton. So it's just been fun for me. But he's like Chris Jericho. There's a couple others that are really the last of what I would consider my peers in a way. Even though he was much younger than I am, still kind of feels like a peer to me. So it's great. And Cody is like the next generation, the star of the next generation behind Randy. So it's a cool matchup.
It is a cool matchup. It's always a cool matchup whenever our supporters over at ringclassics.com can jump in and ask us live questions. Instagram wrestling historian is with us here live, and he reminds us that as you and I are recording today on March 19th, 2026, this is actually the exact 25-year anniversary of when the last Nitro was recorded. I'm sorry, the last Thunder was recorded. So, of course, Thunder was respectfully the B show of WCW towards the end. And On the next to last Nitro, it was March 19th in Gainesville, Florida. They did the live Nitro, and then afterwards, they switched the sets, and here we go. Here comes Thunder. We recorded Thunder that night. The final episode would feature, and this is real, the final Thunder. Yang and Kaz Hayashi pick up a win over Air Paris and his tag team partner, AJ Styles.
Oh, wow.
The next match is Jason Jett pinning Cash. Then Ernest Miller and M.I. Smooth defeating Chris Canyon and Road Warrior Animal. We're just picking names out of a hat here. Hugh Morris beat Rick Steiner. And then we've got the Cruiserweight champion Shane Helms teaming with Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman to beat Chavo Guerrero. And the Cruiserweight tag team champions, that was the thing, Kid Romeo and Elix Skipper. We also saw tag team champion Chuck Palumbo pin Mike Awesome in singles action. And the main event of the very last Thunder, 25 years ago today, it was recorded. Scott Steiner teamed with his buddy Jeff Jarrett to take on Dustin Rhodes in a handicap match. Of course, it aired 2 days later, but still, I think it's awfully cool to think it was on this day all those years ago that the last Thunder was recorded. And who would have guessed at the time AJ Styles in the opener on the last Thunder? Nice little piece of trivia for everybody, I think.
Yeah, that surprised me. I mean, I knew that AJ had spent a cup of coffee in WCW, but I didn't realize that he actually wrestled on one of the shows. I, of course, wasn't there at the last Thunder, so I wouldn't remember it necessarily. But it's cool.
Chime is changing the way people bank. Fee-free and smarter banking built for you. Not like old school banks that still charge you overdraft and monthly fees. Built for you and not the 1%. Chime isn't just another banking app. They unlock smarter banking for everyday people with products like MyPay. That gives you access to up to $500 on your paycheck anytime, and you can even get paid up to 2 days early when you have direct deposit. Did you know some old banks still don't do this? By the way, forget the overdraft fees, the minimum balance fees, and even the monthly fees. Chime turns everyday spending into real rewards and real progress. Did you know that you can bank fee-free and get overdraft protection you can count on? You can with Chime. Chime can even help you build your credit history stress-free. You heard me. You can get paid when you say up to $500. I also want to brag on their APY on their savings account. You can earn up to 3% right now. That's like 7 times higher than a traditional bank. But maybe what I think you'll love most of all, real humans 24/7 for customer service. That's how they got 5 stars by the USA Today. I want you to go check it out, especially if you're trying to build credit history with your own money. Chime can help you do that. And you can even get rewarded every single day. There's no annual fees. There's no interest. There's no strings attached. And again, when you get qualifying direct deposits, you get a 1.5% cash back on eligible Chime card purchases. My only regret is that this wasn't around 20 years ago. Where have you been, Chime? It's never too late. Go sign up right now. Chime is not just smarter banking. It's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today. Just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head on over to chime.com/83weeks. That's chime.com/83weeks.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/fees info. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.
I do want to ask you, there's been a lot of chatter and discussion in recent weeks about John Laurinaitis. I don't know if you saw, but he had his first appearance since he had some ugliness a couple of Januaries ago be revealed through a civil lawsuit. But I think it was in Chillicothe, Ohio with Dylan Hines and Bobby Fulton. And I guess there was some controversy. I'll admit I didn't see the photo, but I guess Johnny Laurinaitis posted a photo of his signing and fans jumped all over it and said, oh, it's AI. And he quickly deleted it and it became a bit of a trend. But there's been a lot of discussion about Johnny Ace lately, and something you and I don't think have really ever pinned down exactly. You brought him in towards sort of the dying days of WCW, and you weren't there. So for like this next to last Nitro, this last Thunder taping, you're not there in Gainesville, Florida. Would Johnny Ace have been there? And what was his role in WCW sort of in the dying days? Was he the liaison to communicate with you? What was his official capacity?
I brought Johnny in initially to help with finishes. I wanted somebody that could, I've talked about it so many times, I wanted somebody that could bring a little bit more emphasis to our finishes and variety. And Johnny has spent a lot of time in Japan. I liked what I heard about Johnny's approach to booking, particularly in finishes. So I brought him in for that, but it became obvious to me that he, in addition to his input on booking and finishes and all that he could kind of fill a need with regard to talent relations. So he had kind of a dual role for me, initially creative, but then shortly after, he got there and I started working with him a little bit, he worked himself into that talent relationship or talent relations position.
Well, would that have been, if WCW continued and you got your hands on the thing with Fuchsia Media, he would have been your JR at that point?
Possibly. It's not like when I hired him, I had his future planned out for him or mine necessarily. I could see had the Fusion deal gone through, because I had a good working relationship with Johnny. I appreciated his experience, his perspective, his ability to communicate. He was a talented guy. So in all likelihood, he would have probably continued in that role.
Let's talk a little bit about AJ Styles. We mentioned him just a few moments ago being on that Last Thunder. He recently had a conversation about tribalism, and I wanted to get your take on that. He says, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. If you like wrestling, then why don't we take part in so many things going on right now? And listen, NXT is different than Raw and SmackDown. AEW is different than Raw and SmackDown and NXT. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of wrestling to watch. Enjoy it. You don't have to hate one or the other. I think there's enough out there for you to enjoy a little bit of everything. I think that's what WWE is trying to do, is give you a little bit of everything because you want to be entertained. You want to laugh. You want to cry. You want to enjoy the wrestling. So trying to find all that in one show is very difficult. But then you got people hating on this because that guy left here and went there. Don't do that, man. Just enjoy what you've got, because who knows how long it lasts. There was a time when it was just WWE. It was just Raw and SmackDown, and they were combined, and that's all you got. Be thankful we have so many different things. We listed 4 different shows. We didn't list TNA. TNA's still in there, and they're doing some really good work too. This has kind of been under the radar, but AJ's recently started a podcast that sort of talks about gaming in his life. But I love that he gave his take on wrestling. And I think most wrestling fans would be surprised to hear, I think almost all the wrestlers agree on this. Like, hey, this is a great time because talent can have multiple places to work. Like, we're kind of blessed right now with there being options. What say you?
I agree. I mean, it's great that we have as many options as we have, and I think the tribalism that exists. Sorry, May just decided to come into my room. I think the tribalism that exists pretty much is confined to the internet wrestling community, that kind of cesspool of folks that live and breathe and get their dopamine hits by being critical of other people and other organizations. It's a small part of the audience, but it's obviously a very loud part of the audience on social media.
Something else that's been kind of loud this week is the ongoing discussion about Ted DiBiase Jr. I'll admit I didn't realize all of the circumstances, but it made headlines everywhere, even here in Alabama. And the headline, unfortunately, includes WWE. It says, former WWE wrestler faces decades in prison for alleged mishandling of Mississippi welfare funds. And the charges include money laundering, theft, wire fraud, conspiracy. I guess this is all based around DiBiase allegedly misspending millions in welfare funds through sham contracts. And I guess the co-conspirator was found guilty and received like a 32-year sentence. I think his brother Brett pled guilty and got like a 5-year sentence. Man, it's not looking like you can win this one, based on the track record that everybody else has. Have you heard anything? Where are you at on all the developments in the DiBiase case this week?
Yeah, I picked up a couple things earlier this week, stories on the situation. Look, I don't know enough about it to have any real comments other than I feel bad for Ted Senior. It's got to be weighing on him. I can't even imagine what he's going through. We talked about it a little bit a couple of weeks ago. It's collateral damage, and I feel really bad for the people who are innocent in this situation. Obviously, the people who got ripped off, but the immediate family is suffering along with Ted Jr.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. I'll admit I didn't realize that seemingly everyone else involved with the case, the co-conspirator, got 32 years. His brother pled to 5 years. When we talked about this last week, I don't think I knew that piece.
I'm surprised he didn't take a plea. I mean,
it's rolling the dice here in a big way at this point, right?
That's a big bet, man. That is a big bet. If your co-conspirator got 32 years or whatever it was, and I'm guessing that's federal. So there's, you're going to do 75% of that sentence.
Eric, I don't mean to cut you off, but the co-conspirator got 32 years on state charges. He hasn't even received his federal charges yet, or his federal sentence yet. So the reality is, and boy, I hate the way this sounds, just mathematically, if this was something you could bet on Polymarket, and I'm glad it's not, this is not good. It feels like an almost near certainty at that point. The DiBiase is in major trouble, and what's I don't know, sad if it weren't so, I don't know, ironic. And he was a member of that faction Legacy, and two of the other three members are headlining WrestleMania. I mean, this is just, it's a nightmare movie. It will be a movie at some point. I mean, I don't know how this doesn't get adapted to be something on a streaming service somewhere. Like you've got the celebrity and the wrestling component, and then the relationship with Ted Jr. and the co-conspirator, whatever that was. Like it feels like somebody's going to turn this into some sort of adaptation for the small screen, don't you think?
Sounds like a Dark Side of the Ring episode for sure, at the very least.
Hey, I heard some things they're working on the next season of Dark Side of the Ring. I know you've worked with them in the past. Are you on the upcoming season? Have you been on any of these recent shoots?
No, I don't think I've done anything with Dark Side in quite a while, a couple of years.
Did you have some sort of falling out with the Dark Side guys, or just the topic didn't make sense?
I don't know. I think the last time I worked with them might have been 8 months ago, 8 months ago. I don't even remember what it was, but no, I've got a great relationship with them. There's no issue.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with ticket prices. I think we've touched on this. WWE recently did a sale, and we're going to talk about that sale and how it worked or didn't work with Raj Geary here in a bit when we do our wrestling update. But the cost of tickets have been a major hot point. Over the weekend, AEW sold out Staples Center. I guess it's Crypto.com arena now in Los Angeles. They had over 12,000 there. It was another $1 million plus gate. But MVP went on his podcast and said something like this about ticket prices. Right now in our country, we have a problem with affordability across the board. I don't care what your political affiliation is, it's tough. And whatever your wrestling affiliation is, you have to admit that there are some companies that are charging more than the average wrestling fan can afford to go and see some good live wrestling. AEW, affordability matters, and we love the fact that Tony Khan has set up a company where we get down to wrestling. It's where the best go to wrestle. A father of 2 or 3, a family of 4 can go to an AEW show and have a great time. Case in point, in Fresno, Save Mart Center, you have AEW Dynamite Live, and then after that, you have a Collision taping. So you get 2 shows for the price of 1. You can buy affordable seats ringside. You can sit just a few rows back from ringside and not have to spend 2 months' salary to do it. I think that's a beautiful thing. Listen, I understand that this is the era where we're trying to deliver shareholder value. And normally, I would see this as just PR, and on some level it is for MVP and AEW, and good for them. This is the right way to play it. But I do think, given the current economic climate here in America, I think more people agree with MVP that maybe one side of the equation is priced a little more aggressively than the other.
Well, you get what you pay for as well. Not going to really get into the ticket pricing debate. Every business is in business to make as much money as they can and to find the market, find the price points that work for them. Great. MVPs, speaking up for the common man, good for you. That is a PR move. I think the whole ticket pricing conversation is part of that tribal conversation that people like to have. It's just something to bitch about, something to create a discussion point between us and them. At the end of the day, people are going to spend their money on what they want to spend their money on. And if the ticket prices are higher in one company than the other, but the market will sustain it, good for them.
Now, on that, we agree if the market will sustain it. But I got news for you. For whatever reason, you've decided you don't think you can afford WrestleMania tickets. Well, today we're excited to introduce a new sponsor to the show, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years, and they've recovered over $30 billion for their clients. Not only are they one of our new sponsors, but they're also the official law partner of WWE. And what I love most about Morgan & Morgan is that they truly are for the people. Today, they're coming in hot. They want to hook up one lucky fan with 2 tickets to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. That's April 18th and 19th. That's right. They want to send one of you to Las Vegas to watch WrestleMania 42 live. In addition to the 2 tickets for WrestleMania, they're also going to be giving this one lucky winner $2,000 to help cover their travel expenses to Las Vegas. Now, to enter, all you have to do is text HEAT42 to the number 4, the people. That's HEAT42 to 484-373-6753 and follow the prompts. Don't miss out on your chance to watch WrestleMania 42 live. Just text HEAT42 to 4 the people. There's no purchase necessary. Open to legal residents in the 48 contiguous United States and DC who are 18 and older. Sweepstakes ends March 29th, 2026. This is a paid advertisement. Eric, how about that? Morgan & Morgan giving away WrestleMania tickets. That's pretty cool.
I love it. You see Morgan & Morgan, they're everywhere.
Yes, they are.
Very successful firm. I think they specialize in like asbestos related claims or something along those lines, class action stuff.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And personal injury. Check it out, Morgan & Morgan. Hey, I do want to mention WWE this past Monday. They did something I don't think a lot of people expected. We saw Seth Rollins come out and cut a promo, and boy, he had guys dressed head to toe in black, wearing ski masks surrounding the ring. That sort of explained all the different body types that we saw on the way here. He cut a promo saying he's coming after Paul Heyman. He wants his fat head on this canvas again, blah, blah, blah. Out comes Paul Heyman looking stressed, red-eyed, haggard, worse for the wear. And he says, FAFO, FAF5, here comes Brock Lesnar. And what a lot of people were not expecting, I think a lot of people, myself included, just thought that we would march into WrestleMania and Brock Lesnar would do his open challenge and someone's music would hit and they would sort of set the hook with us about intrigue of who is it? Who's going to answer Brock's open challenge? And of course, there was lots of speculation. Hey, it's going to be Gunther. It's going to be Oba Femi. It's going to be this guy. It's going to be that guy. And I wonder, did they lean into learning about that whole box situation? Who's in the box? What's in the box? Because it wound up being Danhausen, and that wasn't well received. But a week later, the dude's getting monster pops, and he's a merch mover, a dream come true for WWE. But I think people had set themselves up with unrealistic expectations, and maybe they thought it's going to be Jericho or it's going to be this guy or that guy. So maybe WWE decided, nah, we're not going to let it be a surprise. We're going to reveal who's answering the open challenge, and we're going to do it right now. Out comes Oba Femi, crowd goes wild. But they go bananas when he picks up Brock Lesnar and power bombs him, and it got all kinds of attention. People were even pointing out that you could tell that Oba was moved. If you got tight shots on his face, you could see a tear rolling down his cheek. I mean, you want to talk about making a guy. He is a made man. A wrestling friend of mine said, hey, did you see Brock tell Oba, hey, put your foot on me? And I missed that, but I thought it was cool that Brock understood, hey, we're trying to get this guy over. I know what to do. Hey, just put your foot on me. We've never seen Brock positioned like this. And because of that, boy, it took off. And the Instagram post of this happening has set a record for WWE, 9 million views.
Wow.
So that is the highest viewed segment from Raw by at least 5 million views. People are really, really intrigued by this. And I don't know that you saw this, Eric, but someone did a side-by-side comparison. Way back when Brock was just a rookie and breaking in, he went face-to-face with Hulk Hogan. And at the time, Brock was 25 and Hogan was 48. Wrestling's full circle. Time is an interesting thing. Oba is 27, and now Brock is 48, the same age Hogan was when he had that opportunity. I love that about wrestling. Isn't that great about wrestling?
It is, and it's interesting to, in this case, because I didn't see it, but to hear about Brock positioning himself to really get somebody else over, because usually it's Brock that's, up on that pedestal, and people are working hard to keep him over or get him over. So returning the favor now, it would be fun to watch that process. I can't imagine how Oba felt that night. I mean, your life has just changed when that finish went down.
I don't know if you saw, but a few weeks ago, there was a report out that kind of made me laugh. I didn't jump on social and try to correct it. I do that occasionally, like, hey, this is bullshit, as my dad would say. But there was a report that was out that said Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman have informed WWE management that they will not be losing. Brock Lesnar will suffer no defeats before his final match and his retirement match. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard. That's not the way this works. Like, old pros like Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, if the rumors are true that allegedly Brock Lesnar is going to wrap up in Minnesota this year at SummerSlam, he's not going to say I'm not putting anybody on the way out. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see that happening. Do you?
No.
Silly.
What's the source for that story?
I don't remember, but I know it was parroted all over the IWC, and I was just shaking my head thinking, man, anybody who's been close enough to see how this works knows that's not real.
No, it's not real at all.
No.
Just more IWC garbage.
Here's the question though. If you were booking this, like, do you try to make that a competitive match? I mean, first of all, I think we agree, like, Brock can't win at WrestleMania, right? He's got to lose this one.
I would assume. Especially if we're jumping up.
So if we both assume that Brock is that Oba's up and Brock is down on this one, would you have this be like one of those brief Goldberg encounters before, where Goldberg caught him off guard like 9 years ago and had a quick pin? Or would you make this a longer competitive match? What type of match would you expect them to have if you were booking?
I'm not familiar enough with Oba's work. Can he go in there and have a 18, 20 minute competitive match with Brock? If he can, sure. But if he can't, less is more. Get him out there, let him get a big win, let him make a big statement, and get it over quick. But it depends on his level of confidence and whether or not he can go out there and have an 18 or 20 minute competitive match with someone like Brock.
Just to recap and run you down, what's been happening. 10 days ago, as we're recording, he beat Rusev in 3 minutes and 8 seconds. A few days prior to that, on SmackDown, he beat Johnny Gargano in 1 minute and 3. He beat The Miz in 4:52, Kit Wilson in 3:50. He has had some longer matches, at New Year's Evil. He and Leon Slater went 11 minutes. When he wrestled Cody Rhodes before they went to a no contest, it was 9 minutes. He did go 17 with Ricky Saints. He did go 13 with Javon Evans. I know it's WrestleMania and it's 2 nights, so I know some people would be inclined to give them longer. I almost feel like, hey, I'm not going to say eat him up, but I think less is more. You have Oba beat him fairly quickly, and that establishes him as the new monster, right?
Yeah, it would. And it sounded like when you were, talking about some of his match times, it sounded in the very beginning, it had kind of the Bill Goldberg formula.
Yeah.
Get him in there because he's a big, powerful guy. So that's what you want to establish and kind of build upon. There's no need for him to go out there and have a, 25 minute Eddie Guerrero type match. He's a big, powerful, larger than life character. Let him go out there and get his win and kind of emphasize his strengths, literally and figuratively. Again, it just depends on where he's at. I would like to see him. I like the Goldberg approach. When you got somebody as big as Oba, the idea of them going out and having 5-star competitive matches to satisfy the internet wrestling nerds doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Did you know Oba was an Alabama guy?
I did not know that. What part of Alabama?
Well, not from there. He just transferred to the University of Alabama in 2019. He's a track and field guy, so he won a bunch of shot put records and things like that. But Roll Tide to Oba. We're pulling for him here in Alabama. I do want to mention, I don't know if you saw this, but if this is true that Brock Lesnar is going to be hanging him up, I wanted to very quickly just run through Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania history, because I think it is an interesting look at someone's career. I've done this a few times with guys like Randy Savage. I would encourage everybody, go look at Randy Savage's WrestleMania run. And man, he was just knocking them dead. But let's take a look at Brock's. His first WrestleMania, as crazy as this is the main event versus Kurt Angle. Now, what was on the undercard for that? Oh, nothing big. Just Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. Oh, and the last ever match of the Rock Austin trilogy. What we thought at the time was Stone Cold's last match, but pay that no mind. Brock Lesnar's in the main event instead versus Kurt Angle in the main event. 1 year later, boy, the train was off the tracks, and it's he and Goldberg with special guest referee Austin. Somehow that night in Madison Square Garden, fans wanted nothing to do with either guy, heel or baby. We love the referee, and everybody else can get out of here. WrestleMania 29, he's back 9 years later, this time against Triple H. And this just jumped off the page to me. The next appearance is The Undertaker, where he ends the streak. And I just kind of assumed there were more matches than that. But this is just fascinating to me to think. His first WrestleMania, main event versus Kurt Angle, even over Rock and Austin. The next one, his farewell song against Goldberg. Of course, he gets the Triple H welcoming committee. But then he beats the freaking streak. Fast forward a year, and it's supposed to be he and Roman Reigns. Fans are not interested in that. Seth Rollins cashes in. And the following year, he's with Dean Ambrose. Some silliness in a cage with weapons. Goldberg at 33. Roman Reigns at 34. Seth Rollins at 35. Drew McIntyre at 36. He wasn't on 37. Roman Reigns at 38. Almost at 39. And now it looks like perhaps his final opponent at WrestleMania is Oba Femi. But when you just line up that list of opponents, man, that's a pretty badass who's who of professional wrestling over a couple of different generations. What do you think about Brock's WrestleMania history here, Eric?
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? I mean, what a career. I remember the first time I heard Brock Lesnar's name, I'm guessing it was about 97, maybe 98. I don't remember for sure. But Vern Gagne called me and really put Brock over and encouraged me to come down and see, or go up and see Brock and recruit him. But at the time, we didn't have the ability to really train the way we would have needed to train. So we didn't have the power plant, really wasn't up and running the way we wanted it to be. But that was an interesting call. Just to think about what could have been. Obviously better for Brock that he ended up where he ended up. But Vern was very excited about Brock Lesnar.
It is interesting to think, it's almost like you could have, I know it didn't work out this way, but if you were to envision, it's crazy to even think about, Bill Goldberg on Nitro, are you thinking, hey, we just try to recreate the Goldberg thing? Just do it again and then build to those two guys? Because he just comes in as such a monster, this larger than life. And maybe the way I see that is because he was just wearing black trunks and black boots. And I don't know, I'm just trying to think about who that lines up with on the Goldberg side. But we know when he debuts with the WWF, they just call him the next big thing. He's got Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, and he just lays waste to everyone in the ring. It felt like absolute domination. Is there anybody on the WCW side of things that you think about in the dying days of WCW? Like, hey, those two guys, they could have matched up and had great matches or a great story.
I mean, on paper, obviously, Brock and Goldberg would have been pretty interesting on paper.
Yes,
in reality, reality never would have come together for a lot of reasons. But, on paper, that would have been a fun one to talk about.
When you think about actual match quality, of course, if WCW, in an alternate timeline, if Eddie Guerrero's still around or Chris Benoit's still around or any of those guys, they could have had phenomenal matches with him. But it is interesting to think what a hypothetical Brock Lesnar WCW run could have looked like. I don't know. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around that one, Eric. Of all the hypotheticals, that's maybe the weirdest one.
Yeah, definitely. And it would have been tough. And I joke when we talk about Bill Goldberg, but Bill didn't have anywhere near the experience to carry a match. Brock, of course, had zero experience, and both of them obviously very intense individuals. So just trying to imagine laying that match out would have been a nightmare for whoever would have been tried to attempt it. But like I say, on paper, it's fun to talk about, but there really was nobody that would have been the right opponent for Brock to bring him in and put him into a story right away. There was just really nobody.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think WCW back then probably could have used a good spring cleaning. Eric, do you ever maybe decide, you know what, today I'm going to reorganize my closet, or I'm going to reorganize the pantry. I really got to clean out that junk drawer in the kitchen. Do you ever get a hankering to, like, in my head, this is not sorted out, I've got to address this right now? Does that exist for you?
Yeah, in my garage occasionally. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, I like to have things very well organized and in their place in my garage. My closet looks like a bomb went off in it, but the garage is usually in pretty good shape.
I think a lot of us probably start cleaning out a closet or getting our landscaping right or whatever, and we like the way it makes us feel, but then we also say, and I should probably apply this effort somewhere else in another area of my life. And I'm talking to you if that makes you think about life insurance, because it's not something that a lot of us guys ever really want to talk about. Policy Genius is here to make dealing with your financial planning a whole heck of a lot easier. I really trust Policy Genius because they've got a licensed team that goes to work for us. So I know that their guidance is really about what our needs are. I've went through the process, and I recommend that everybody listening to this does too. It'll help you prioritize your peace of mind when you lock in life insurance today. And Policy Genius is an online insurance marketplace that allows you to compare quotes from some of America's top insurers, and you can do this side by side for free. Their licensed team will help you get what you need fast so you can get on with your life. You can easily find what you're looking for too. The coverage amounts, the prices, the terms. By the way, there's no guesswork, just clarity. Policy Genius helps you find your most affordable policy that meets your needs. They answer your questions, handle the paperwork, and they advocate for you throughout the process. Policy Genius has thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best policy fit for their needs. Protect the life you've built. With Policy Genius, you can see if you can find 20-year life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. Head on over to policygenius.com/83 weeks to compare life insurance quotes from the top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/83 weeks. SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Lancaster in California. The motivation behind just following through with this refinance was I have a baby on the way. So just wanted to get everything in order. In the past couple of years, just afraid to pull the trigger, but then it just seemed like the right time to do it. I went to multiple banks, not only the mortgage I had, but then I went to you, and then I also went to several others. And it just seemed like your team, they were just completely honest and outright. Also, all the information was just laid out for me right there and then, answering all my questions in a timely, efficient manner. Diane was just so helpful and above and beyond accessible with both texting and emails and just any information that they needed. She would explain to me what exactly they wanted me to send, and then if there were any issues, she was able to just resolve them pretty quickly, versus other companies that sometimes it would take a couple of days to get some information. We were looking to pay down some debt, also looking into making some improvements to the home, also build up our backyard, do everything, especially for our daughter coming. By doing this cash out, it's a good amount that we're saving, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, I would say. It helped out tremendously as well. My name's Sergio. I'm from Lancaster, California, and I saved over $1,500 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.
Eric, let's talk about another big fella who's going to WrestleMania. We just ran through some of Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania history, and I'm excited to see if WrestleMania 42 is indeed his final WrestleMania. By the way, with the benefit of hindsight, does it feel like a missed opportunity that they didn't have John Cena's last match at WrestleMania? I mean, I know they marketed that and they sold it for Peacock, to Peacock, I'm sure. But as a fan, it feels like, man, night one, John Cena, last match, that could have been big.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what was involved in making the decision to not have it at WrestleMania. It had to have been a topic for discussion, and it does seem to make the most sense, right? Even from John's point of view, I would imagine. I wonder if there was a scheduling issue, or if there was a movie going into production or something that would have prevented it from happening, because otherwise it makes too much sense.
Yeah, the thing that's weird to me too is, when you knew you were going back to Las Vegas again, it feels like it's going to be an uphill battle to move those tickets. We need all the help we can get. We need a little extra something. It feels like one last John Cena match could have made sense. And we would have forgiven him, even if he did say, hey, I'm finished at the end of the year. And then there was some sort of cliffhanger. No, I'll see you at WrestleMania. Something. But it didn't happen. But what's Gunther going to do? That's the big question. The guy who retired AJ Styles and John Cena, what's he going to do? Allegedly, this was supposed to be a match between Rey Mysterio and Gunther, which, if you're thinking like I'm thinking, means, wait a minute, does that mean Rey Mysterio is getting ready to call it a career? Mysterio suffered a rib injury before the Royal Rumble, so Gunther's WrestleMania plans have now changed, and I don't even know what he's doing. I don't know that it's been announced at all. But if Mysterio is back, and that's the way it's headed, if somehow Mysterio can compete, it feels like this might be Rey Mysterio's last WrestleMania. I hate that we're just jumping to that assumption, but anytime I see Gunther with a legend, I think that's the natural inclination that we're all going to have, right?
That's what we've been conditioned to believe, for sure. Question is, what do they do with that conditioning? Do they continue to feed it, continue to build the legend killer kind of character, or do they switch on us and give Ray a win? I don't know. The matchup to me feels, just visually on paper, Gunther and Rey Mysterio kind of doesn't make physical sense to me. But it is Rey Mysterio, and he could probably have a match with just about anybody that he wants to and make it look good. But it's just the matchup just doesn't seem to make sense to me, other than the fact that Rey's a legend, and we've been conditioned to believe that Gunther's going to beat the legend and put him out like he has up until this point. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's what's even more interesting is we're as close as we are to WrestleMania and he doesn't have a match yet. That sounds weird to me. After everything that they put into Gunther, to have him in a situation where he doesn't have a match going into WrestleMania, at least at this point, seems a little odd.
Based on the fact that Gunther is not going to be wrestling Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, if you were a betting man, would you bet that it's Brock Lesnar and Gunther in SummerSlam in Minnesota?
Oh, God. Maybe. I don't know. Man, I don't know. It could. Again, so much depends on what's Brock's. Is he really going to wrap it up in Minnesota? Is it a foregone conclusion? Do we know that for sure? Or are we kind of speculating? Because if he's really going to go out, and he's going to go out in front of a quote-unquote hometown crowd, then I don't think I would see him in the ring with Gunther. Are they going to let Brock beat Gunther in Minnesota, or is Brock going to put him over? I don't know. and it's just too hard to guess.
Well, we want to know what would you guys do with Gunther? Who would you have Gunther wrestle at WrestleMania this year? Let us know in the comments below. Hey, speaking of WrestleMania, I don't know if you saw this, but you and I freestyled a few weeks ago. It was actually my suggestion, and you eventually said, hey, you know what? Maybe that makes sense. And maybe I was wrong. I could have sworn, hey, there's got to be a business reason behind these Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 1 boots selling for $1 million. I think Fanatics is getting into the ring-worn memorabilia game, and they wanted to set a new high comp. And so maybe Fanatics or TKO was the secret hidden buyer to purchase these through Heritage Auctions. Turns out that is not the case. It was a real collector. It was a real buyer. It wasn't TKO, and it wasn't Fanatics. But Fanatics did take notice of that and decided just in time for 316 Day, let's go ahead and announce that we're going to be auctioning off one of Stone Cold Steve Austin's knee braces, his right knee brace, from what will wind up probably being his last WrestleMania match. Of course, we're talking about WrestleMania 38 versus Kevin Owens. You see his right foot extended there. That is the knee brace that just sold earlier this week on Fanatics. So you could have bid on that item. And if you were the winner, you paid $58,045 for it. And if you're curious, yes, that is the same type knee brace you could get at a sporting goods store for, I don't know, $200 or $300 maybe. But because Stone Cold wore it at WrestleMania, by God, $58,045. Eric, did you ever think that we would see wrestling collectibles taking off like this?
That is bizarre. That is God's way of saying you have too much money. It's just ridiculous to me. But hey, God bless him. If someone can afford that and wants to spend their money on a freaking knee brace, I mean, what do you do with it? At least a boot. You got a pair of boots, you can kind of put them in a showcase and they can be a conversation piece. But what are you going to do with a freaking knee brace? Like, leave it on a coffee table? Hang it from a lamp? I don't know. It just seems weird to me. $60,000 for a freaking knee brace. I don't care who wore it. It's bizarre to me, but whatever.
You think there's a chance that old Nick Hogan is down there going like this right now? Because he's kind of have so much stuff, right? I'm just saying, like, if a knee brace, one of a pair that was worn for one match, went for $58,000, there's no telling what type of stuff they've got in that Hulk Hogan warehouse.
I'll tell you, I've never seen or had a look inside the warehouse, so I'm not sure what memorabilia necessarily that Hulk hung on to. I remember, I'd see a lot of stuff at his, when he had the big house over in Clearwater, not the one he was living in when he passed, but the one prior to that. He had a big game room and he had, pinball machine, WWF pinball machines, and he had a lot of memorabilia around the house. But I've never saw it kind of in totality. I don't know how much stuff is there, but I'll tell you who's probably sitting on a gold mine right now is Jimmy Hart.
Oh,
Jimmy's kind of a pack rat. He
Wow.
saves everything. I would like to see the kind of inventory that Jimmy has, because he's been collecting and saving memorabilia for a long time.
Man, I love to hear that. And I got Jimmy's number. I'm going to hit him up. I'm going to see.
There you go.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Earlier this week, he was on Busted Open Radio for 316 Day, and they were asking him if he had the itch. I think a lot of people are saying, hey, man, one last match. We need one more Stone Cold match. And he did talk about having the itch to have moments in wrestling again, but not a match. Here's what he said. I'm done. I could go out and do something. I'm not lobbying to do that. The fact that people are still like, hey, man, it would be cool to see him do something, I guess it's an honor. But the itch would be to go back for one of those moments, not a match itch. I got a left knee replacement a little over a year ago, and god dang, my leg feels good. I'm glad I got it done. I got the itch for certain moments, but to try to do a match, no. Given the guaranteed revenue that WWE now gets for their premium live events from streaming partners and so forth, I don't think we'll ever see Steve Austin have another match. Do you?
No. Steve's too smart for that, and he doesn't need it. I mean, I understand him saying the itch and wanting those moments, because you there are moments that are really meaningful, I'm sure, in Steve's career that he still thinks about and enjoys thinking about to this day. But I think Steve also knows he can't go out there and deliver on the audience's expectation. The audience has an unrealistic expectation when it comes to, legends. A guy like Steve Austin, they want to see Steve back in the ring so that as a fan they can experience kind of the moments that they had previously with Steve when he was at the top of his game. But Steve also knows he can't go out there and deliver on that. It would be less than. His ability in the ring to deliver for the audience would be less than what they expect or what they remember. And no performer wants to go out there knowing you're going to under-deliver based on unrealistic expectations. Steve's not going to put himself in that position. He doesn't need the money. It's usually the only reason people do it is because they need the money and they want that buzz. They want that hit that you could only get out in front of a crowd, in front of a live crowd. That's the part that Steve misses. But I can't imagine him even contemplating for a moment the idea of getting back and having a match. I was surprised he did what he did with Kevin Owens, to be honest with you.
Talk to me about The Rock. Do you think that ship has sailed, or do you think we could still see The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania one day?
I don't know what it is with Rock. Maybe because of his, the last time he came in and out, it was such a, I don't know, it was just awkward and it didn't deliver. I'm not sure how the fans would react to Rock. I really don't have a feel for it. Is he going to get a big Rock babyface response? I don't think so. Does he have the kind of heat that you could build a story around? Probably. I don't know. I just don't have a feel for him anymore.
I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you're here with us live, let us know in the comments. Do you think we've seen The Rock wrestle his last match? Would you still be interested in The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania? Allegedly, that was the plan years ago. Next year, they are going to Saudi. We've all heard that Saudi loves their big celebrities and big names. Maybe it happens there. But I got to think with every passing year, Rock gets older, Roman gets older. It feels less and less likely to happen, at least to me. And it could be one of those.
I mean, that's a big part of it, isn't it? I mean, the clock is in control. Time is in control. And you're right. Every year that goes by is less of a chance that anybody's really going to be interested in going in there. Much like I said with Steve Austin, Rock doesn't want to go out there and not perform to the best of his ability and meet the audience's expectation. He doesn't want to go out there and disappoint him. But every year that goes by, that becomes more and more likely.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 13 years since he's had a regular singles match. I know that 10 years ago, he had a 6-second thing with Eric Rowan at WrestleMania, and 2 years ago, he did a long tag match. But as far as a singles match at WrestleMania, it was he and John Cena in 2013. So to me, it just feels like as much as we fans really love the idea of seeing Rock and Roman, if we were weather forecasters, we wouldn't be forecasting rain right now. And I think the percentage, the odds of that rain diminish with every passing year. So I think if it doesn't happen next year in Saudi, it's probably not going to happen, Eric.
I think it's a safe statement.
Well, something else that's safe is you're going to love the way Blue Chew Gold works. Maybe the only person who's going to like it more is your partner. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand. This is not your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We've got 2 ingredients for blood flow to keep that rocket pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue, and it works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. We're talking elevation without hesitation, peak passion, and peak performance, all in a single tablet. If your bed could talk after this, it'd be asking for a break. Make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the promo code 83weeks. That's promo code 83weeks. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast.
It's time for the Wrestling News Update with Raj Giri.
All right, we are back here with Raj Giri, who's got all the news that's fit to print here on a podcast. Raj, what's going on, man? What are the headlines this week?
And it's been a busy week. What's going on with you guys?
Well, we're excited to catch up with you. I don't know that you saw this, Eric, but there was a little bit of a controversy earlier in the week, and I'll admit I got a late slip. I guess Ricochet was up to his regular heel hijinks, and maybe some fans thought he took it too far. Raj, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, Ricochet's kind of been, playing this trolling character on Twitter for a while now. It's been long before, even before the interview comments where Ricochet said WWE tarnished his legacy. That was just last month. He's been doing it for a while. And this past Monday, a woman on Twitter basically made fun of his acting skills. And the woman in her bio, on her Twitter bio, it says, "Trying not to let MS control my life." And Ricochet responded by telling her that she was glad she had MS. Obviously just a stupid thing to write. It stayed up for a while. Eventually, the next day he had deleted the tweet and issued a statement saying, "I took out my hatred for the IWC on Sandy," who was the Twitter user. And he wrote, "and inadvertently others who are affected by MS. She didn't deserve it. And for that, I sincerely apologize." And Ricochet was not on Dynamite this past Wednesday. He wasn't named. I don't know if that's related or he just simply was not booked. But apparently it was a friend of Ricochet's that had called him and advised him to remove that tweet. And it turns out it wasn't AEW that told him to remove that tweet. And that actually kind of blew my mind, because really I feel like someone from AEW, as soon as they saw it, should have contacted him and told him to take it down. Because since then, this story has been picked up by, a bunch of mainstream media outlets. TMZ has an article on it, The Sun, Yahoo Sports, Forbes, Vice. And AEW just had a really well-received pay-per-view on Sunday night. And instead of people talking about that, this week people have been talking about this Ricochet comment, the stupid tweet that he posted. So, it's kind of one of those things. People get criticized. I see WWE getting criticized for, sometimes having too much control over their talent with their social media. But it's instances like this where it's like you really do need to have some social media training and really need to know what those limits are. Because ultimately, you're not just making yourself look bad when you post the wrong thing. You're also making your company look bad.
Yeah, Eric,
is there a chance he's just a goof? Like, we're kind of saying, oh, he's playing this, heel character, and his responses are because of the role that he's playing. I just think he's a fucking goof. I mean, all the social media training in the world isn't going to help that idiot.
It could be.
To say.
He's not a good guy. He's playing a heel character. Oh,
that's what I think. This didn't happen in WWE during his time in WWE. This, these kind of tweets that he's been posting, it started, really over the past year. It could be has more free reign, and who knows?
I don't know the guy, but to me, reading this, if he thinks he's being creative and he's using social media to get his character over, he's really wrong. He's not doing a good job of getting himself over in social media as a heel or otherwise. I just think he's a goof.
Well, I appreciate you guys chiming in on that. I feel like, again, I don't know him personally for real. I've met him a few times, had great interactions with him, but I get the vibe that he's kind of doing, and Raj, you may remember this. MJF used to do this with wheelchair bound fans who were in line for his meet and greet. He would start trolling them. And I think, the context is a little different. Now, this is an MJF fan who knows that you're basically an insult comic / insult wrestler. That's your deal. That's your thing. So maybe if you're standing in line for a meet and greet, you're looking for that. And maybe Ricochet thought, well, for Miss Sandy or whatever her name was to attack him on social media, she's kind of in on the gag too, but maybe she wasn't. But I feel like when you're a paying customer, maybe that's different. Or Eric, where do you land on that? That MJF used to sort of troll handicapped fans at his meet and greets.
It's bizarre to me. It's It's the cheapest of all cheap heat. Can't relate to it. Can't support it. Can't even really discuss it without just wanting to throw up. I mean, it's stupid. That's just not the way to get heat. It's the cheapest of cheap heat. Can't think of a better way to say it.
Yeah, I think we just chalked this one up as a misstep and a learning lesson, but it was interesting to me that it got any sort of TMZ attention, Raj. Why do you think that garnered attention with TMZ? Because that doesn't feel like something that is TMZ worthy.
Yeah, I think it's just because it did garner a lot of attention with wrestling fans, and it's almost like the apology made it worse when Ricochet issued that apology, because it's like once he issued that, it was after that apology where you started seeing mainstream media pick it up. It wasn't before. So, I mean, it could be just a combination of those two things. But again, it got, it wasn't like a huge story or anything. It was, but enough outlets picked it up that, again, it was a distraction from an otherwise, good week for AEW, or what was looking to be a good week for AEW coming off that pay-per-view.
Raj, I want to ask you about somebody else who had a good week. I'm specifically talking about WWE. We've talked about ticket prices here and how they have been negatively affected this year for WrestleMania. They were down double digits. Lots of speculation, lots of discussion about why that is. Is it because they're back in the same spot? Is it because tickets are priced too costly? What is the cause of all this? Well, I think I didn't mean to cut you off, but on 316 Day, they announced that they were doing a sale. So they started to run tickets for 31.6% off tickets. And I thought, hey, there you go. Our producer Silva's got a graphic. A whole host of shows, like a lot of them. And now we got to see how this actually worked week over week. We saw WrestleMania on Saturday with this new sale price. We sold an extra 1,900 tickets. On Sunday, we sold an extra 2,200 tickets. For SmackDown in Raleigh, 1,400 tickets. In St. Louis, nearly 1,300 added. Over 1,000 in Pittsburgh and San Jose. Over 600 in Lexington. Omaha for Raw, nearly 2,000 there and in Sacramento. So it does feel like this discounted ticket price did move tickets. And I think that's interesting because I've long felt like, hey, if they want to see it, they'll pay for it. And because WWE seemingly has been pushing higher and higher and higher, but still setting records everywhere they go, this may have been the first time we saw a sale like this really work like this in WWE. What'd you think of this, Raj?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge success. Like you mentioned, over 4,000 tickets for WrestleMania sold in one day off of this promotion. We mentioned last week how they were stuck at that 37, 38, 1,000 level. Now they're at that 40,000 level with a month to go. And yeah, WrestleTix had posted those numbers, and of the 10 cities that they had numbers for, 8 of them saw over 1,000 tickets sold in each venue with that sale. So I think what you're seeing now, and what you've been seeing for a little bit, is you'll see these reports of the tickets going on sale and ticket sales being softer. Well, in January and February there was 20 live events, WWE live events between Raw and SmackDown in the same city. So it's like if they did Raw in Houston, came back for Raw in Houston, or SmackDown in Houston, comparing those ticket sales. And of those, 9 were up from the last time they were there. 11 were down. So what that's saying is about half and half. So half were up, half were down. And I think what that means is just people are figuring out to buy tickets late. You buy tickets early, you're getting the highest price tickets. You buy them late, you're going to get the sales, you're going to get the discounted tickets. And here you got a big sale, over 30% off, and people jumped on it. So, it's one of those things. WWE, they were pricing tickets high, they were selling out quick, kept going higher and higher. Now people have stopped buying them right away, and they're waiting. And, it's smart. And, whether that causes WWE to bring the ticket prices down or just keep going as is, where you put them on sale at a higher price, bring them down later as you need to, that remains to be seen.
I'm interested to see, Eric, do you remember at any point promoting a sale or a discount code for WCW or TNA and seeing that sale actually work for ticket prices?
No, it seems that when I think about ticket sales, in WCW, I have two memories. One, Nitro, of course, where we were selling everything out, and it was easy. And then prior to Nitro, when we would paper, for example, on pay-per-views, we had to paper the house because it looked so horrible. We'd sell 1,300 tickets, 2,600 tickets tops, in a 7,000 or 8,000 or 10,000 seat arena, and the rest of it was all paper. So I was never in a position where I had to try to dynamically price our tickets to take advantage of the market. We either couldn't give them away or we couldn't fill them up fast enough. So there was really nothing in between.
Well, there's going to be renewed interest after the big angle that they did on SmackDown this past Friday night. It felt like a lot of good news coming out of SmackDown this past week. Raj, tell us about it.
Well, what was really interesting was, SmackDown, first off, this past Friday night with the Randy Orton heel turn, it had 1.419 million viewers and a 0.32 in 18 to 49. Now that 1.419 million viewers is the best since early September. And that would be the episode that AJ Lee made a return on. So these numbers now are beating most of the numbers that they were doing under the old Nielsen system with the viewership. Again, it's 1 week, but what is really interesting is how much it beat the previous week. And the previous week was the one where Cody and Drew wrestled for the WWE title. And theoretically, a world championship title match advertised ahead of time should be doing a really big rating. But this past Friday night was up 20% almost in both total viewers and 18 to 49. It was 19% in viewers and 19% in 18 to 49. So up significantly from the week before that had a title change. And also the week before had really weak sports competition, while this past Friday night had really strong competition with March Madness and baseball. So really impressive number. I think, as far as the creative decision to go with Randy Orton, look, people going in the episode didn't know about that a great angle was going to happen at the end of the show. But I think that that pivot must have done something, because it was a really big number. You can't make too much of one number. We'll see how it is this following week following that heel turn. But that was a big success, at least on Friday night.
Yeah, it's a huge number. I mean, we're seeing a lot of momentum, and it feels like renewed interest. I know once upon a time people were sort of nonplussed about the idea of Cody and Randy, but it does feel like they've hit a home run with this story. And maybe the best part of that story, Eric, is as you go back and you look at all of their interactions, Randy has sort of maintained the same posture the whole way through. He's the guy who is sort of the snake in the old parable. Hey, you knew I was a snake the whole time. I was here for the world title, and now you've got it. And well, this would have been easy if it was with somebody I didn't like Drew McIntyre. But I like you, Cody, so I hate that I have to do that to you. Are you pumped about this main event now that you've got some story and some momentum now, Eric?
I sure am. As I said earlier, I think it's a great matchup, and there's so much backstory. There's so much to work with. And they're both amazing performers. I'm a huge Randy fan, and I can't wait to see this thing play out.
We know that there is a flag football game that's happening that everybody's been talking about. Of course, it's happening this weekend over in Saudi Arabia. Tom Brady's involved, and he's got some NFL greats. Gronk is pretty famous, media savvy, who's rubbed up against WWE back during the pandemic era at a WrestleMania. He was recently involved earlier today, and I guess a little bit of a shouting match with Logan Paul. Kevin Hart is trying to play peacemaker. That's how you know, okay, they're entertaining you folks. Do you think, Raj, there's a chance that this all leads to something at WrestleMania or some event to follow? Because we know, as a reminder, Tom Brady has an ownership interest in the Raiders, and they play at the same stadium where WrestleMania is. And we know Logan Paul is a huge celebrity and universally hated. We know Gronk is Tom Brady's boy. We know Gronk has rubbed up against WWE before. It does feel like there's going to be some sort of opportunity for WrestleMania shenanigans. Maybe not a match, but a moment. Is that where you think this is headed, Raj?
I do. That seemed out of character for Tom Brady to be making fun of wrestling like that. Clearly he respects it, and you get twofold with this. You get promotion for the flag football league, and then you could easily do something like what Mickey Rourke did with Chris Jericho. That actually was supposed to be a match that ended up changing, but they did a spot at WrestleMania, and I could easily see Logan Paul and Tom Brady doing a little spot at WrestleMania that get some mainstream attention. I mean, you had you've had my God, his name's totally skipping my mind. George Kittle and Travis Kelce's brother, Jason Kelce, doing spots. So I could see it being something like that.
It will be interesting to see. I mean, if you get Tom Brady at a WrestleMania, that's a pretty big damn moment. No matter what he's doing, I don't imagine he's going to be doing any sort of match, but even if the physicality is just between Gronk and Logan, it just feels like having Brady in a ring at WrestleMania. The optics of that are going to have a really long tail. He's doing stuff with fanatics just like WWE is. That could be a really big mainstream crossover opportunity. Don't you think, Eric?
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely. Just the PR value alone would make it worthwhile.
Anything else on your slate this week, Raj?
Yeah, something that actually just came out, an article by Brandon Thurston over at Post Wrestling, that there's the shareholder lawsuit going on between the shareholders and TKO. And one of the things that came out was that one of the companies that placed a bid on WWE was Base 10. And Base 10 is a company backed by AEW's Tony Khan. So Tony Khan's company had made a bid to purchase WWE back in 2023 when that whole process was taking place. So that was pretty interesting.
I did not realize that was public information now. Eric, did you know that until just now?
Did not.
I
Can you imagine?
listen, I not only could I imagine, I'm going to make a bold prediction now. If and when WWE is ever for sale, and a lot of people are taking a look at the moves WWE is doing right now, and they're saying, well, eventually they're just going to squeeze all the money out of this, and they're going to sell it at its peak, and they're going to move on. It's going to be Saudi Arabia or Tony Khan who buy the thing. I mean, that's the only logical play. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else who would be willing to pay, the premium that TKO is going to be looking for outside of perhaps Saudi Arabia or Tony Khan.
You mean Shad Khan? I mean, you're like Tony Khan slash.
Well, we don't know when this is going to happen, but let me ask you this, Raj, since we're just playing that game. When sadly, unfortunately, Shad is no longer with us, what does that mean?
Well, he's got other children as well and things like that. But yes, I mean, I just do not see TKO with how much money the money that they're making with the UFC and WWE willing to sell unless it's a gigantic premium now. Just with where everything is at right now, with the synergies that they have. I wouldn't want to. I don't see them selling one property and not the other. And that's why when you say Saudi, that I could see, as far as selling both brands, but selling one or the other, it's tough to see. But again, who knows? Who knows down the road? Who would have ever thought in 1998 that Vince McMahon would one day own WCW? So you never know, I guess.
Who would have ever thought in 1998 that Eric Bischoff's in the WWE Hall of Fame? And
on the cover of 2K26.
Yes, that Eric Bischoff is on the cover of the video game, and Vince McMahon is nowhere to be found in the video game. Like, no one would have guessed it.
Right.
So we'll stay tuned and see how the internet reacts to the possibility of what if Tony Khan had won the rights to bid and buy WWE.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the cluster that would have been? Can you imagine Tony Khan trying to run WWE? Oh gosh.
Raj, anything else we need to hit this week? Tell everybody how they can keep up with you.
That's about it, guys. Just follow me on Twitter at TheRajGary, and thanks as always for having me on. This is fun.
No, thanks for coming on, man. We greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate how great Eric Bischoff looks in those jeans. He's looking better than ever. Now, some of that is because he's been working out like a madman and he looks more like an athlete. But the other part is, man, his jeans just fit him nicely. And you know why that is? Because they're as comfortable as sweatpants. Eric has even told me that once he found himself traveling and he realized after the airline lost his luggage, he needed to go find new stuff. And he was determined by God to find the perfect jean. I don't mean just jeans off the rack that fit him nicely. I mean the brand, the perfect jean. And if you're an athlete, or maybe you're just a guy with a weird body type and you think, man, these jeans never fit me just right. I try on a bunch of different pair, and even if they're expensive or they're affordable, they just don't fit right. They're either too long in the legs or they're too tight on the thighs, or my waist is too big or my thighs are too small. Whatever it is, it's a wonky look. So you wind up doing what? Thinking, I'm going to do what Michael Hayes never does. I'm going to go see a tailor. I'm going to get these brought in. I don't want to look sloppy. Well, you'll never have to deal with that with the perfect jean. You've been shopping for jeans the same way for years. You go to the doggone store, try on like a dozen pairs. None of them fit right. All that's over. Now you're going to get jeans that really fit. It's an aha moment. It's the perfect jean. Within seconds, you'll realize that something is different. Wait a minute. These actually fit. Not kind of fit. They fit. Your waist, your thighs, your length, everything's right. And they're as comfortable as sweatpants, but yet they're still stylish like iconic jeans. You can move. You can breathe. You can do a squat test right there. They move with you. You check yourself in the mirror and you think, wait a minute. These actually look good. And if you're training for wrestling or powerlifting or CrossFit, or maybe you just never skip leg day, man, you know it can be an impossible idea to find jeans that don't like cut off your circulation to your thighs, or maybe they're too loose at the waist and you just look ridiculous. Maybe you're a former athlete who played college football or high school football, or maybe you're just a guy who's been on the couch for 12 straight years and you need a more comfortable jean. No matter what you're looking for, the perfect jean can hook you up. These are comfortable for those watch along parties with nachos and wings and beer. These jeans aren't going to punish you for it. They're going to stretch with you and move with you, even when you're jumping up to yell at the TV right now during March Madness. The perfect jean is great for guys, especially this type of weather where it's cool in the morning and boy, in the afternoon, it starts to warm up a little bit. The perfect jean can hook you up. All body types too. They got 6 different fits, from skinny to thick, waist from 26 to 52, legs from 26 to 38. Turns out like over 5,000 different ways to rock the perfect jean. Not only that, I think they're the best value around. You know, jeans that look this nice, you'd normally spend a couple $100 on. These are like $79, an incredible value. They've also got really, really cool other stuff like quarter zip pullovers you're going to absolutely love. I want you to go check it out right now. It's so easy to do this. Over 500,000 men have made the switch. Thousands of athletes and wrestlers and CrossFitters, they're just donating their previous jeans because we've got over 5-star reviews 35,000 times. Think about that. 35,000 plus people have thrown down a 5-star review. And why is that? You'll see the same phrase used over and over in their reviews: as comfortable as sweatpants. Our listeners right now can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc, or just Google the perfect jean and use the code 83weeks15 for 15% off. One more time, that's theperfectjean.nyc, or just Google the perfect jean, but don't forget to use this code. You'll get 15% off when you use the code 83weeks15.
Jacob Stimmel. I'm from Bulls Gap, Tennessee. I was looking for a house, and Jason, when I talked to him, it seemed like he knew a lot about what he was talking about, and he was a big help with anything I ever needed. It was my first time buying a house, so I didn't know what I was getting into. It was a good experience. I closed actually a week earlier than planned. Anytime I needed help with anything or had any questions, he'd answer right away and help me learn a lot too. I would gladly recommend anybody. Y'all are a big help, and if I ever go to buy a house again, I'd go with y'all again. My name is Jacob Stimmel, and I got into my first home with the team at saveitconrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender.
SaveWithConrad.com. All right, Eric, I'm excited for us to do this. We've got, we do have a live studio audience, so we are going to be answering some questions, but we've got 2 clips that I want to share with you. One is from a podcast that The Rock was recently on, from Patrick Bet David. And of course, we love talking about the business of professional wrestling every now and again. And he has an interesting conversation he recaps where he's talking to Vince McMahon about negotiating his next contract. Let's take a listen.
I said, who's the highest paid, if you don't mind me asking, between us, who's the highest paid on the roster? He said, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I said, okay. I said, if you don't mind me asking, what's his guarantee? He said, $1 million. I went, okay. I want 2. So, I know, the balls of that kid. So he said, 2 million? I said, yes. Guaranteed? Yes. And he said, I'm just curious, where do you get that from? Like, what are you figuring out in your mind? And I said, well, I love Steve, I respect him, but if he's getting $1 million, where I see myself going is past $1 million, I think it should be 2. And he went, okay, I understand that logic. He said, here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna put you in contact with one of our executives, and I need you to take a couple of months, if it takes that long, because I was on the road. He goes, I need you to understand the business. I need you to understand the business, this side of the business, from top to bottom, all the economics.
Oh, wow.
I want you to understand that. I want you to understand our cost, overhead. I want you to look at what's allocated to the board.
What a great thing to do.
Yes. I want you to take the time and put in the work that you say you're committed to. In the ring, yes, I expect that from you, but now I want you to learn the business. Once you learn this business, then you come back to me. And then we'll talk about what the renegotiation.
Who was the executive? Was that a CFO?
It was like a CFO.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. So you learned the money aspect of the business.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly. What the overhead costs are, what the costs are every venue we go into, what the cost of the venue is, what the state tax is, what the allocation for all the wrestlers is going to be, that percentage of what the gate is that particular night. I didn't take 3 months. I mean, maybe it was just 2 weeks, and it was baptism by fire, and I learned to absorb as much as I could about the business. I went back to Vince, and I thanked him. I gave him a big hug. I said, I understand now. I'd like to match it at $1 million, what Steve is getting. Thank you for taking me through it. And we had a great conversation. And he said, how much do you think you're going to make this year? I said, well, my guarantee is $1 million. I've been averaging about 50% over my guarantee, so maybe 1.5. He went, okay. Now that you've taken yourself through that, now you understand the business, you're going to make $15 million this year.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
You're not expecting this.
No, but he already did the math. He could see where it goes.
Wow.
You're going to make $15 million.
Life changer. What was your reaction when he says that?
Holy shit.
That's I mean, from 150 a year to 15 million.
A lot of people have heard that story before, but I was glad that he actually shared it on a podcast. And since we sometimes talk about the business of professional wrestling, have you heard that before? How'd that story strike you?
No, I've seen a clip or two from that interview, but I've never seen it in its entirety. It's an interesting story.
It is an interesting story. Did you ever have a similar experience or negotiating process with any talent in WCW where, you know, they were asking for something that you felt like was unrealistic, but you knew that it came from a good place and you wanted them to learn more about the business? Did that dynamic ever exist in WCW?
It really didn't, and I was thinking about that as I was watching that interview. It probably is a good exercise for talent to really understand the business of the wrestling business, because unfortunately, most talent that I've ever had to deal with really only understand what goes on inside of the ring. A lot of veteran wrestlers who talk a lot about the business of the wrestling business have very little visibility into it and really don't understand how the financial model for professional wrestling really works.
It's fascinating to me that, you know, he went and did that I don't know, exercise with Vince McMahon, and all these years later, Vince is on the outside and TKO has The Rock on their board. It's an interesting story. I do want to,
isn't it?
yeah, it's fascinating to me. Do you believe the number? Do you think The Rock made $15 million that year? Or is he just having fun with the story?
Yeah, I think he probably colored outside the lines just a little bit. Could be. I don't know.
We agree. Hey, let's see if we agree about LA Knight. I don't know if you saw this, but he went public with something that I'll admit I was surprised by. LA Knight revealed that his appearance on season 2 of Unreal has directly changed how he conducts himself backstage following the matches. He says he was on the Bootleg Kev podcast, and he talked about the moment where he was on season 2 and he's having a conversation with Triple H after deviating from the original finish in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And WWE's producer, Chris Park, who we know as Abyss, had explained the original planned finish tonight before the conversation with Triple H, and all that was on camera, of course. And Knight said on this podcast appearance that he was holding back significantly more than what viewers saw on screen. Quote, I was majorly holding my tongue in that scenario, if you could tell, because I had my own frustrations about that situation that partially had to do with the finish, but more so it had to do with an overarching theme that I don't need to get into the weeds about here. Knight also revealed that he was unaware he was being recorded during the exchange with Triple H, which prompted the behavioral change going forward. Quote, I had no idea that I was on a microphone at that point in time. And so with that being the case, I don't even stop there in Gorilla anymore. When my match is over, my segment is over, I go straight through and I go to the locker room, end quote. Knight said he remains open to discussing what happened in his matches, but on his terms. Quote, if they want to talk to me about my match or whatever happened out there, sure. Let's talk about it when there's not a microphone or camera around, because that's how it's always been. And with that being the case, I'm not going to stop in there and leave myself susceptible to that. The Gorilla position, of course, is the staging area right behind the entrance curtain. So a lot of fans were shocked to see that this made air, but I think even LA Knight was like, well, I didn't know I was being recorded. And I know that there were some people, Jeff Jarrett, maybe chief amongst them, who was saying, this is going to create more problems. This is not good for the wrestling business. What do you make of this story coming out? Like, I think a lot of wrestling fans just assume, oh, well, this is all the big work. But maybe the talent was like, hey, I don't like the way that made me look. And that's not the way I would normally handle myself. And whenever I'm on camera, I expect to be in character. I'm just going to pass. I'm going to go to the locker room. What do you make of this?
Not much. I mean, I understand it. Certainly, I would like to know when I'm on camera so that I can handle myself accordingly. So I understand it from the talent's point of view. I don't think it's going to be a disaster for the wrestling business. I don't think it's going to cause a tremendous amount of distrust or confusion. It's a minor blip it's just like a speed bump for LA Knight. I don't know. I really don't know how it's such a little fucking thing. It's hard for me to really comment on it. It's a seemingly nuisance kind of an issue.
Well, it's never a nuisance issue when you stink, and you'll never stink with Mando. You see, Mando men eliminate the stink before it even starts. They get the job done right. They don't mask it, they Mando it. And I want you to go try it if you haven't already. You're going to love this whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body. And when I say anywhere, I mean anywhere. You can use it between your legs, your belly button, your butt crack, your feet, whatever. Mando was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was just being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando is now clinically proven to block odor all day and control it for up to 72 hours. You get the solid stick deodorant, which is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it even starts. It's aluminum free, and it's also ideal for those hard to reach places when you're talking about the spray deodorant. Yeah, you got solid stick and spray. No matter what you choose, it's all baking soda free and paraben free. Mando's clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. And by the way, it's clinically proven to control odor better than Old Spice too. Yes, you can go find Mando in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals and to support our show, we want you to go right now to shopmando.com and use that code 83weeks for 20% off. That's shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. You can say goodbye to those sweat stains and say hello to long-lasting freshness. Shopmando.com, and the promo code is 83weeks. You know, a well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time, and that's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather is shifting this time of year. Quince has the everyday essentials that I think you're going to love, but most of all, they've got the quality that'll last. We're talking organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons. The list just goes on and on. Quince actually works directly with the top factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing. Everything's built to hold up to daily wear and still look good season after season. They only partner with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. So what are you waiting for? Go check it out. I hooked up my dad with a cashmere sweater, and let me just go ahead and tell you, it looks great. It looks expensive. It was really affordable. It's ridiculously soft though, but did I mention it's really affordable? You're going to look good. You're going to stay warm, and you're going to get a lot of compliments. Go refresh your wardrobe right now with Quince. Go to quince.com/83weeks for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/83weeks. That's free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/83weeks. Eric, before we get out of here, I do want to end on a high note. I don't know if you saw it, but this past Tuesday night, one of the more decorated wrestlers in the history of wrestling, in my opinion, the most decorated wrestler in the history of WCW, Booker T, got a real special celebration in the city of Houston. It was Booker T Appreciation Night on NXT. Of course, I'm sure some of this is because of all the value that he's added to the community and to NXT, and that all made sense. But it's not lost on me that it wasn't that long ago he was given the not so prestigious and downright disrespectful worst announcer of the year award in the Wrestling Observer. And I thought it was really cool of WWE and NXT and the city of Houston to acknowledge that, hey, you guys have missed the point. Booker T is the man. Triple H even commented, behind the scenes, he's a resource and a mentor to our talent. And in front of the camera, well, he's Booker T. He's one of these guys who I feel like, you know, a lot of times we throw around the phrase unsung hero. I think when people talk about WCW, they obviously talk about Flair and Sting and Goldberg and Hogan and others. But man, did anybody make that transition from WCW to WWE better than Booker T? Like, Booker T deserves his flowers and then some, don't you think?
He's an amazing talent. He's had an amazing career. I still enjoy listening to him to this day. He's got a big personality, and he's entertaining as hell to listen to, and he knows his stuff.
We're going to be talking about WCW a lot, and we're doing it next Thursday. We're going to be doing it live here at 83weeks.com. We want you to join us. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. Next Thursday, March 26, 2026, is the 25-year anniversary of the very last Nitro. Make plans to join us. We'll talk about it in great detail. It's going to be a lot of fun. Eric Bischoff will be here. We may have a few special guests. We're certainly going to be taking your questions. We want to hear from you, your favorite Nitro memories, your favorite WCW memories or moments. Let us know in the comments below and make plans to join us. Hit that subscribe button at 83weeks.com. Turn on the notification bell. You don't want to miss us. And we'll see you next week right here on 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff.